Another victory, another deeper dive. What is up, Finn fans? Again, I'm recording this late Sunday night, but got all my stats, doing a deeper dive into the Miami Dolphins victory over Detroit Lions. Again, today and tomorrow, I'm going to kind of talk about Detroit a little bit. We got the film breakdown, which I'm going to be recording tonight for you, tonight for me. No, tonight for you guys. Monday night, and then I release it Tuesday. And then I'm on to Chicago, because Chicago is going to be a big game. 5-3 right now. We can win that game, go to 6-3. The Jets have to face the Bills. They lose that game. Also, the Dolphins are in second place right now. The Dolphins are sitting sixth in the playoff standings behind the Jets. They win that game, and the Jets lose to the Bills, which is going to happen. And all of a sudden, the Dolphins are in the fifth seed, second place, all by themselves. Very, very big there. So a lot of big things happening. So for now, we're going to still talk about Detroit, and then start of Wednesday, we'll talk about the Chicago Bears. Also, tomorrow is the trade deadline. So hopefully, this video will be coming out at 10 o'clock. Maybe we make a move and I make a video straight from my phone or whatever, talking about a trade that we did, whether trading Eric Rowe for somebody or whatever. Because again, Eric Rowe, was a healthy scratch, yesterday, which surprised him. But they need to make a move, and I'll talk about that in the deeper dive as well. So we're going to jump into some stats here. I'll give you team stats first. The Miami Dolphins, as of right now, are number one in passing offense with 2,455 yards. Again, these will all be updated, and I'll talk more about them when we preview the Chicago Bears game, and I give you the matchups. But off of what I got right now, the Dolphins are first in passing offense, 2,455 yards. Second in first downs, 112 first downs. Second in yards per attempt, 8.5. 26th in rushing offense, getting a little bit better, like I've said, 705 rushing yards. And they're tied for seventh in scores with 20 touchdowns. Now, on defensive side, they are 29th in passing defense. They are tied for 11th with 15 sacks. And 10th in the NFL in rushing defense, only allowing 805 rushing yards. And like I said, normally when I preview the next game, I give you guys the breakdown and I talk about more of the rankings, where we're at when all the stats get compiled, because I'm recording this again Sunday night. Tua Tagovailoa, he has now 1,678 passing yards, which is 17th in the NFL, and that is with missing pretty much 3 3/4 of a game. He would have so much more if he never got taken out of that Bengals game with the concussion, and then having to miss the Jets and the Vikings game. I think he would be the number one passer right now in the NFL. The fact that he's 17th, it just shows how good he is in this offense. 12 touchdowns, which is 9th in the NFL. Passer rating of 112.7. That is number one in the NFL. His passer rating on third downs, 142.7. That is number one in the NFL. His completion percentage of 69.9% is third in the NFL. Tua has really showed when he's healthy and he's on the team, they win. And I'll get more to that. Tyreek Hill, 961 yards. The man needs 39 more yards to have 1,000 yards receiving, and we're going into week 9. Like halfway of the season, he's already got 1,000 yards. He's on record for almost about 2,000 receiving yards. Like, are you kidding me right now? First in the NFL, 961 yards. Passes of 20 plus yards, he has 15 of them. That is first in the NFL. Passes of 40 or more, he has 4 of them. That is tied for first in the NFL, and he has 2 touchdowns. Jalen Waddle, 1-2 combination, 727 yards. Again, the way he's going, he's looking at about 1,400 to 1,600 receiving yards. That's 4th in the NFL. 5 touchdowns. That is tied for 3rd in the NFL. 20-plus catching yards, 12 of them. That is 3rd in the NFL. And 40-plus yard catches is 4th in the NFL. He's tied with Tyreek Hill. And I think Stephon Diggs for first. I think there's a 3-way or 4-way tie for first on that one. So stats are killing it. I would talk more, our leading sacker is Jalen Phillips. He's been the bright spot of that front 7, because sometimes he drops back into coverage. Sometimes he sends pressure. I'll talk about it. Because there's some other things I still need to talk about. I have this clip from Bobby Souse, if you guys know him on Twitter, of Mike McDaniel on the sideline. And you could tell here it's right before halftime, and they literally, the penalties and everything, they're marching down the field to kick the field goal, go up 27-17 at halftime. And a little profanity coming out of Mike McDaniel's mouth. I'll play it. There's not going to be any sound, but I'll play it, and then I'll tell you what he says. But just look at his mouth. He says, bro, get that effing fixed. Bro, get that effing fixed. Now, I don't know what he's talking about, whether it's the penalties, whether it's the defense, whether it's what. But he says, bro, get that effing fixed. And if it is the penalties, the Miami Dolphins right now are second in the NFL in total penalties not accepted with 73 penalties. Second in the NFL. Accepted penalties, there are 55 of them, tied for fourth in the NFL. And they asked Mike McDaniel, which thank the Lord in heaven, they asked Mike McDaniel, they said on the number of penalties they received throughout the games and what they have to do to fix that. He says, yeah, I think there were 8 declined in the first half. Well, that's certainly controllable. And the ones that really irritate me, we knew coming into the game that we have to be mindful of pre-snap alignment. If you notice, there's a lot of illegal shifts that were happening. Just knowing that people are looking to throw penalties on that, I think, around the league in general. So we went in making that a point, and it didn't get done. Those are the type of things are controllable. Then you look at where and what type of penalties are happening. Same thing that we did. What was it? The Minnesota, we had a ton of penalties. They had a ton of penalties in the Minnesota game, and we tightened it up against Pittsburgh, which is true. If you notice in the Minnesota game, they had a ton of penalties, especially on that one drive. Pittsburgh didn't have that many penalties. You just have to make a point of emphasis, take each penalty individually, and coach off of it so that we can improve and not put ourselves in such tough spots on both sides of the ball unnecessarily. I'm glad he realizes and he recognizes how poorly they do with the penalties, right? It makes me feel better that he's not poo-pooing it and kind of saying, oh, we're working on it, or saying some generic coach thing when it comes to the penalties, because they are a serious issue. They have taken over games and they have taken us out of games. The Jets game and the Minnesota Vikings game are 2 games where the penalties seriously hurt the Dolphins. The face mask calls, the Jets had the ball on, I think, their own 45. We had a sack, 15 yards for face mask, and then another play, I think a tackle, 15 yards on face mask. All of a sudden they went from their own 45 down to the Dolphins like 30. So it's like they completely just gave them the field. Like, here you go. There's so many dumb penalties. Intentional grounding gave them 2 points. Look at the Vikings game. Skylar Thompson had them marching down the field, potentially scoring a touchdown. Again, at the Vikings game, we had them punting. Penalty. 5 penalties in a row. Dolphins team could be way different in the standings if it wasn't for beating ourselves and stupid penalties. So the fact that he recognized it and realized it makes me feel better. That clip of him saying, bro, get that effing fixed, makes me feel better. I don't think that Mike McDaniel's kind of sitting around lackadaisical and just saying like, oh, everything's going to be all right. Like, he looks like a guy who's not going to yell at you. But watching that clip of him turning, looking at a coach and saying, get that effing fixed, like, this is ridiculous now at this point, makes me feel so much better. I'm like, all right, he knows what he has to do. He knows what he has to get fixed. Get it fixed. Because we're playing bad teams right now, right? No offense to the Detroit Lion fans. I don't even know if you guys are still watching these videos, but they're a bad team. You're 1-6 now for an obvious reason. They're a bad team. We held them to we gave up 27 points in the first half. They were just doing whatever they wanted to. And then Josh Boyer all of a sudden was like, all right, I need to do something. I need to make a halftime adjustment. I need to fix this. And they didn't score a point in the second half. Like, we scored 14 in the third. They didn't score anything in the whole second half, and we won the game. Like, it was a good adjustment by Josh Boyer, and I give him credit there, right? But they need to address it. I said this in the post game. They need to address it. They need to fix what's going on with the pass rush, right? Now, I'm not going to be nitpicky when I do the film breakdown and kind of look for penalties, because I know I've seen the holds not getting called. At one point, Jalen Phillips almost had a sack, and he literally had his whole, I think it was his whole right shoulder grabbed, and he's sticking his other arm out trying to grab at Goff as he's getting pulled and literally held by the right tackle. It is what it is. Whatever. I'm going to move on from it. We won the game. I'm not going to be that petty, because, for a fact, if we lost, I'm going to be petty. But they need to figure out what's going on with the pass rush. I watch these games, right? And I'm focusing on things because, yes, we watch the ball, we watch where the ball travels, but I'm watching the trenches because I'm like, what is going on here? Sometimes I notice that it's a scheme thing, right? If it's a 3rd and long or something, they'll only send 3. Like when it was like 3rd and like 20 something, they only sent 3. It was more just, whatever. Don't let them get in front of you. Don't let them get the first down. And then sometimes I notice they kind of just try to contain Jared Goff at some points. But I'm watching, and if it was Jared Goff dropping back and real quick throwing the ball, right? Like 1-2 seconds max. He's dropping back, throwing a slant to Amon St. Brown, or he's throwing a quick pass here, getting it out to Swift on the outside, or Williams, and he's just quick pass. Then I'm like, all right, it's the corners. The corners are getting beat on these slants. The corners are getting beat off the line. It's the corners. The corners are young and inexperienced, and they're getting beat off the line, so the pass rush has no time to get to the quarterback. But that's not the case. That wasn't the case with the Lions. That wasn't the case with the Steelers. That wasn't the case with the Jets. That's not the case when I'm watching these games. Because especially with Jared Goff, I see him standing there with his feet planted, and he's able to go through all his progressions. He's able to allow these receivers to run 40-yard deep post routes. He's allowed to let this happen because he's got this clean pocket around him. Pump fake 3 times. I'm going to show you in the film breakdown. 3 times he pump faked, and then he's allowed to because the pass rush isn't getting to him. You can't have your corners cover receivers for that long. So what happened, right? I'm very interested to see what happened. Last year, the Miami Dolphins were ranked 5th in the NFL in sacks. They had 48 sacks last year. They were ranked 5th. Emmanuel Ogbah had 9. Jalen Phillips had 8.5. They were 5th in the NFL last year in sacks. What changed? We didn't lose any players. We still have Emmanuel Ogbah. We still have Jalen Phillips. We still have Sealer. We still have Christian Wilkins, Raekwon Davis. We brought in Melvin Ingram. What changed? Because we should still be getting consistent pressure. That's what needs to seriously be addressed, whether it's trades or whatnot. Also, hopefully we find out in this week or so, 2 weeks and then we're on the bye. But Austin Jackson practiced. So with Austin Jackson practicing, his 21 days is taking away. So he either needs to get on the field or they have to put him on IR. I think they'll activate him and then just let him sit for 2 weeks and then go in the game afterwards. They asked him about Liam Eichenberg's injury. He says he doesn't know much. He said, that's our process that we're getting pretty used to, aren't we? It's essentially injuries. We'll figure out on Monday, but he's playing really well, so that was disappointing for sure. My heart goes out to him. He'll be getting some more information back tomorrow on the severity of that. I think it was his knee. It sucks. Regardless if I don't condone this because I saw, again, somebody in the live stream call for Tua's injury to get him out of the game, and I banned him. I'm not even going to say who it was. So that's 2 guys I had to ban this season for either celebrating Tua's injury or wanting him out for an injury. Like, I don't understand the thought process of some of these people. Like, if you're a troll, you're a troll, whatever, and you're banned now, I don't have to deal with you. But if you call yourself a Dolphin fan and you celebrate these things and call for these things, I don't understand your thought process. But regardless, Liam Eichenberg's a Miami Dolphin. He did struggle at some points. He did do well at some points. Seeing him go down sucked. I hope he's all right. I'll give you more information as that goes on. But there's a lot of things we can build off of. The Dolphins offense did fantastic. The rushing, the offensive line, the passing, it was fantastic. There's little hiccups here and there. I think there was about 2 passes I didn't like from Tua. Other than that, it was lights out, which he should be against a defense like this. That's another thing. People are already coming out and saying it. Well, it was against Detroit. Well, this is what you get when he's has, the 2 best wide receivers and a good offensive line in front of him. Oh, for real? Because if my recollection, Teddy Bridgewater and Skylar Thompson couldn't do that. They couldn't win a game with the same things Tua won against the Steelers with. Tua didn't have Teron Armstead at left tackle, if my brain is working correctly. So Tua won these 2 games. Add Teron Armstead, but Tua won these 2 games with the same weapons that Teddy Bridgewater and Skylar Thompson had, and they lost their games. So I don't want to hear that crap. You can take it, you can shove it up your butt. But yeah, good things to build off of. We got the 2 best receivers in the NFL. Tua is a top 10 quarterback, top 15 quarterback right now. Rush game is getting there. Just got to keep running the ball, especially now our offensive line is starting to get healthy. This bye week, again, is coming at a perfect time. Take care of business against the Bears and the Browns, right? Go into the bye week and get healthy. Get our guys back. Get back to 100%. And then you got the Texans, and then you got a rough stretch. Heading to San Fran, heading to LA, heading to Buffalo. If we can win one of those 3, I'll be happy. I'm asking for one of those 3 to be a win. I'll be happy. If they can win 2 out of 3, oh my God, I'm ecstatic. I don't expect to win the 3. Do not at all. But I'll see you guys tomorrow with the film breakdown. And again, if trades happen, again, tomorrow at 4 o'clock is trade deadline. If a trade happens, I will break it to you. I'm hoping the Dolphins do something and pull off some type of trade. Imagine they get Judon somehow. It's not going to happen. You don't trade within the division, but imagine they get Judon somehow. We add an elite pass rusher. See you guys tomorrow. Wishful thinkings. But other than that, like usual, stay classy. Fins up.